Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by Soccer 90 Champions League Finale. The sale is finishing this Saturday the 29th with 40% off select European club gear. And of course, because you're a Third Degree listener, you still get 25% off your entire pie of merchandise when you choose and use the code Third Degree at checkout at soccer90.com. Go do that. Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fans. Welcome to another edition of Third Degree, the podcast. Hi, I'm Peter, joined by my two good friends. First, Dan Crooke. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Peter. I'm feeling a little bit targeted. Soccer 90 actually tweeted me earlier and said that if they had Luton Town stuff, it would be in the UCL sale. And I was like, well, we stayed up. We didn't get relegated. Come on.
And your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, founder, editor of Third Degree, the podcast, and Third Degree, the empire, the good Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hi, Peter. Calling in from my house today where I'm celebrating the fact that Newcastle stayed up for like the third consecutive year, despite the fact that you and Eddie both picked them to be relegated for like the third consecutive year.
We did. I actually, when we get to get around to doing the next episode of the Kick Around, which is not this weekend because we're off this weekend, one of the things I want to talk about is the surprising 12th place finish of Newcastle United and what Newcastle fans must be thinking about Steve Bruce, considering this is like the best finish they've had in a really, really long time, and they all generally hate his guts.
They seem to. I mean, to me, he's like not to make this a Newcastle podcast, but to me, he's a guy that puts together like scrappy teams that battle and dig out points. I mean, and if you're not one of the big rich teams, which Newcastle right now are not, that's a good combo to keep you alive.
But isn't it a crime that Newcastle, with all of its potential, is not one of the big money teams?
Oh yeah. It's horrible. The owner is the worst.
I mean, It's got a great brand. It's in a massive city. It could be just an absolute juggernaut.
Yeah.
Well, sorry you didn't get your nation state owner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's still something going on there, so we'll see.
All right, Buzz. Dallas 2, Real Salt Lake 2. I thought that was a really shitty game, but I have a weird feeling you're going to try to sell me on the fact that Dallas actually wasn't all that bad.
Yeah. I don't know why you'd find that was a weird feeling, because that's coming. Look, I try to often review things and talk about things with this team in the context of this season. And in the context of the season, if you play like that all the time, you're going to be a mid-table team that's going to be scrapping and fighting to make the playoffs. Well, prior to this game, we thought this looked like a team that was not going to be in last place the whole season. There's some things that you could fix, and we had hoped that some of the moves they would make would try and get them to move up in the table. And that right now doesn't look like that's going to happen. But if you can replicate this performance, particularly if you can replicate this performance on the road, you're going to be in the middle of the pack, and you're going to be in the mix, and you might be able to make the playoffs.
Okay, let me push a little bit on you on this, which is how much of what we saw Saturday in Frisco was Dallas playing really well, or a Salt Lake team that really just had its mindset on sitting super deep back and just looking for counterattacks and weren't really putting too much effort in getting forward?
Well, that's the way RSL plays. They don't play through the middle of the field. They play over the top. And I think that their run of home games makes people think they're a little bit better than they are. But, there's a point at which you can say the team's playing really bad. They need to make these changes. They make some of those changes and they play better. Then we have to say, hey, fair credit. That was better. You fixed 2 or 3 things on the list of things that could be fixed. And the team's better. Now, they're not going to win anything with this playing like they are. There's still a lot of shortcomings, but as an individual game in the context of this season, that was a significantly better performance.
All right. That sounds like Stockholm Syndrome to me. Dan, what is your overall opinion about the 2-2 draw?
Incredibly unlucky not to win it. Frank O'Hara, yay. oh my gosh, he scored, he did the thing he's paid to do, and then looked like a soccer player after that, and not a mopey Mauro Diaz clone. No, but yeah, I mean, seriously, I thought it was a very positive performance. A certain GOAT had a couple of brain fart moments that maybe took some shine off it, but the thing that kind of bothered me is it's always been the defense looks good, but the attack's crap, and I think Saturday it would look like the opposite, which means you can recover the defense. You've got the players for it, and kickstarting the attack is definitely progress, something that we hadn't seen from the previous 5 games. So yeah, I mean, you got to be happy with that. You get you're going back to a Colorado side that are somehow 4 points ahead, but have only scored 1 goal more. And then you've got the international break to kind of recoup, get some injured players back, and maybe sit down and really nail down what FC Dallas's identity is this season.
Yeah, that'll be interesting that they do only have 1 game left before an extended break, and even if they get a win at that point, they'll have only won twice the entire season and will have collected only 9 out of a potential, what is 7 times 3? 21 points. And at this point, they've played at home 4 times. They've only gotten 6. They've only gotten 6 points, and again, just not that anybody's counting. Okay, Luchi is 5, 7, and 18. That's 18 losses in his career. So. This is, I don't know. I can't figure out in my head if this is the start we expected or if this is even a bit worse than we were anticipating.
Oh, this is definitely worse. Yeah, definitely worse than I was expecting as a start. There's no question that they've dug themselves a massive hole. But, in the context of being the last place team in the league, there was progress last game, Now, given how many games they played and how many points they are already behind, they're going to have to play some pretty good soccer if they want to try and get in. They still got a lot of work to do. But the positive news is that there's still a tiny bit of window open right now, and the next window opens in a month. And there's some ways you can recover the season. Some things that could happen that could make this team better, and some things that Luchi did that made this team better. So there's a little bit of positivity to be had. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to win MLS Cup because they're a long, long way from that, but.
Okay.
There's some positive things happening.
All right, I'm going to go with you here, Buzz. I'm going to believe in you. Give me some more of your sales spiel on why this was a better, improved performance for us to be hopeful about.
Well, specifically, Luchi made 2 tactical adjustments that paid off. And number 1 was they wanted Franco Jara, excuse me a second. They wanted Franco Jara to play higher, and he did that. He got up near the box. He had as many... He had half of his shots on the whole season, half of his shots on goal for the whole season came in 1 game because of this change. Corollary to that, the other side of the change was that they wanted Jara and Acosta to be back as an 8 again and not as the 6. And he did that. And they used Tanner as the 6. Now, during the week, they looked at both Eben Cerrillo and Tanner as a 6, and they went with Tanner. We can talk about Tanner in a minute. But because Acosta went higher, there was less attention to Ricaurte. And Ricaurte had 8 key passes. That's 8 scoring chances created from 1 player. Now, 4 is a spectacular game. So to have 8, that's incredible. Dallas created 29 shots on goal, just an exceptional number of opportunities. Now, sure, RSL's not great, but those 2 changes, moving Acosta higher and moving Jara higher, both worked and both made the team better. So those are 2 direct coaching changes that Luchi deserves full credit for. And it made the team better. So those are the things.
All right, just to set the table for people that don't know, could you define what key pass means and what actually qualifies as a key pass?
Sure. A key pass is sometimes you'll see it referred to as chances created. Essentially, it has to do with how many times you created a scoring opportunity with your pass. They had a higher XG on this game because the key passes created scoring opportunities, which led directly to Franco Jara's high number of shots, the high number of shots for the team, the high number of shots on goal for the team. The goalkeeper for Real Salt Lake had 8 saves, I think it was. That's a spectacular number of saves for a keeper to have. Mm-hmm. So again, this was everything you want offensively, other than the fact that they didn't win. And Oscar Pereira used to say sometimes you have to throw out the score when you're analyzing whether your play was better or not. You have to sometimes ignore the score, and this is true in this game because Matt Hedges brain farts twice and lets the team back in. So, from a team that could not generate offense, from a Jara who had been absolutely horrific, from Ricaurte not creating enough chances before this game, from Acosta having to be the 6th before this game, all that stuff changed and got better overnight. Now, can you do it again? Got to do it again. If it was a one-off, it doesn't count. You have to keep it going. So, but that's a positive sign, positive direction.
All right.
For the short version, Peter, your answer was a pass that leads to a shot.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that brief edited definition. Pass that leads to a shot.
Scoring opportunity, yeah.
I get it. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I knew the answer. We keep using terminology. I'm not convinced everybody else knows what it means, and some of it's soccer nerd stuff. So why not just do everybody a favor and make sure we're all on the same page?
Right.
Okay. Now, my next question is, how do we feel about Obrian and Vargas? If things are better and there was a sign of positivity, do we feel any better about those two new guys?
Well, I think Obrian, to me, I don't know where you are on this, Dan. Obrian, to me, is exactly the same he's been all season, which is like an early Barrios, Castillo clone. And that is what it is. And I think there's some effectiveness in MLS there. 6 months from now or even a year from now, is he going to be better? I mean, I would hope so. Vargas, I thought actually this was one of his better games, but I don't think Vargas has done enough to hold on to that job in the long run yet. And that when I get down to the practice part, let's come back to the Vargas part. But
tease.
Yeah, tease. I'm all about the teasing these days. I just want to keep things where they belong. So not great, but part of what. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about today was that I would have called this the same 4-3-3 they've always played with just a slight adjustment to tactics for a couple of guys. And the club put it out that it was a 4-1-4-1. So that made me feel a little weird. I was like, well, it's not really that because Obrian and Vargas are still wings, but because Jara was playing a little higher, Obrian started from deeper and Vargas was able to play outside in like he likes to do. So they were both fine. They weren't part of what was better, but they were the same as they have been.
All right, well, then let's move back into the midfield. It was an interesting lineup in the fact that I think we're all going to be in agreement that Tanner ended up kind of playing as the single 6, or was there a lot of swapping going on there?
No, it was pure single 6 from Tanner. He doesn't do a lot of tackling. He only won 2 of 5. But he was in a large number of duels and he had a large number of pressures, so he's defending by position basically. And his passing vision is really nice there. Certainly his passing is much better than Evan Surreal, but and I'm sure Dan can confirm this, RSL does not play through the middle. So it was not a particularly heavy defensive assignment for Tanner. That's going to be a big thing to watch, particularly going forward against somebody like Colorado who has pretty good central midfielders. So we'll see how this holds up. That's an actual big question mark going forward.
Yeah, like you say, Tanner had the most touches in the entire game. Just because he's dropping forward between the defender, the centre backs, picking up the ball, and there's not really a whole lot of pressure coming up the middle from RSL, so he's got time to play a couple of passes, spread it out wide as we know they like to do, and yeah, it was, he did everything that was asked of him. It certainly wasn't a bad game in a strong midfield performance.
Yeah, the trick with him going forward is if you play a team where the guy in the middle wants to dribble past you, that's probably Tanner's weakest defensive ability is like when the attacker comes at him, is he going to hit him and tackle him and take him and wipe him out, or is he just going to try and run with him? And that's where he can get caught. So that'll be a thing to watch.
And I'm going to guess that you're going to heap some levels of more praise. You've talked about Ricaurte a bit, but I haven't heard you mention Brian Acosta, and a guy that I think we've all agreed has had a really strong season after a couple of really crummy ones.
Yeah, how much can we keep talking about how great this guy is? He's definitely the MVP for me. Like putting him high and not using him as a 6 and letting him play as a real linking 8 and playing box to box was great. It was part of what made the whole team better. So, again, you can run through any of the numbers you want, and Acosta had another phenomenal game. I only wish that he had been playing like this for the last 2 or 3 years, because the guy right now is playing lights out. It's unbelievable.
Okay, well, then I guess that means we have to move back to the bad part of the game, which is, is what we're seeing with Matt, who, has cranked out more weird, bad decisions or errors in a short part of a season than I think we've seen him collectively do over his entire career. Is this injury related? Is this age related? Buzz, what's going on with Matt?
Man, I hope it's injury related, because 31 is where you start to see a decline in performance. But, so much of defending, particularly for Hedges, is about game reading and being in the right place. That shouldn't be falling off. That should be better than ever. So for him to have these mental letdowns is concerning, because I wonder if he's worried about too many other things. Like Mon Joma on his right is basically a rookie, and he's still learning to play with Martinez, and he's worried about Tanner in front of him. And maybe he's a little worried that because Mauer's not 100%. So he's thinking about all these things maybe. I'm grasping at straws here, because I haven't seen this rough of a game mentally out of Hedges in a long time.
He's strung together a few iffy performances even back into pre-season. I remember that Austin game he dropped a couple of clangers, and we kind of mentioned, well, good, he's getting out in pre-season. It'll be gone by the time the season rolls around. I will say that surface was so slick with the rain. Coming back from a sprained ankle, he is probably skating along thinking, crap, I can't overcommit because I will re-injure this. And that is, if that starts weighing on your mind, it's curtains. So, whether that kind of changes his mind on trying to clear the ball or marking the wrong player on a high cross, who knows? But, there's definitely some rope there to say, why he may have had a pretty poor outing.
Yeah, I sometimes I wonder if everybody takes into considerations all the changes that Matt's having to deal with. And, for players like Matt, a lot of it has to do with consistency, and he's had none of it this season. And I think you make good points about Mon Joma. The first goal was, he just tries to clear a ball, and I think it's Acosta that just kind of gets in the way, and he bangs off the back of Acosta back into the box. But what I thought was really unusual was how Hedges reacted to chasing the guy with the ball down, and how easily he got cut back on and lost. And then on the second one, I've seen different people trying to blame different things on it, but to me it just appears that Matt just never makes any kind of engagement with his mark or somebody he's supposed to be marking, and it was just an easy goal.
There's no chance that Damir Kreilach is supposed to be marked by Eddie Mon Joma at any point. So you've got Matt's trying to pick up Brissan's guy, Eddie screaming at the back, I've got Silva and Kreilach, and and he makes that weird dash at the last second when it's too late. It was like the keeper that's watched an easy shot go past him, cough Raul Fernandez, and then tries to make this athletic leap to say, oh well, at least I tried, right?
Do we put either one of those? Do we throw in Jimmy Maurer to the Wolves on either one of those?
He could have been a little bit better on the second one, maybe. Maybe a little late coming across. And, of course, Eddie could have helped a little bit. But, I think Mauer's still coming back from injury a little bit. I don't think he'd be playing if Philippe was available, which we'll get to in a minute.
Actually, he did say he only had half a training session, so he was definitely... it's kind of funny. You mentioned, all the changes around Matt. And I was asking Ryan after the game about, playing... He's playing behind 3 different left wings every game right now. And, and what it's like with those changes. And he kind of went on this little tangent about changes don't matter to me. I'm going to be the best left back I can to be the best left back in the league. If I go to the right, I'm going to try and be the best right back in the league. It doesn't matter who's playing alongside me. It doesn't matter who's playing ahead of me. And a lot of this, like, if if the ball needs saving on the line, I'm trying to be there. If the goal needs scoring, I'm trying to be there. And kind of like there was maybe some anger at teammates hidden a little bit there.
Like, what do you mean? Like, who would he be mad at?
Well, just, I mean, the way he was kind of talking about players not, that he has to put the team on his back and do these things that others aren't.
All right, well, Ryan's an interesting case because he is kind of the utility knife for this team. And the other thing that Ryan has that I just don't see from anybody else, which leads me to my thing I want to talk about with Paxton, because when Paxton comes on the field, especially in this particular game, there's a level of drive and intent that kid puts on the field that, other than Ryan, just appears to be absent from everybody else. Let me just use an example. When I see Brian Acosta or Ricaurte get on a ball, or even Tanner to a degree, or either one of the Wings and Vargas and O'Brien, or Eddie at the right wing, I don't see people willing to carry a ball through space and progress with the ball and drive with the ball and attack with the ball. I see a lot of almost overly patient play with it. And it just seems pervasive through the team, and that's why I can't really tell if Paxton's really good and back in place, or he's just because he's doing it and nobody else is. It just makes him look like he's playing better than everybody else.
Well, to be fair to Paxton, not to be fair, to give him full credit, this is the first game to me where I don't see any drop off from last year. Like, I watched him and I thought, oh yeah, fantastic, Paxton's back. 100% drive, 100% commitment. I thought he looked as good as he's looked in a year. So the other side of Paxton is that he has a little bit of Bobby Ryan in him, and that he is like that intense 100% all the time, both in practice and in games. And he actually needs to learn to not be like that, because that's part of why I think he's getting hurt all the time, because he doesn't let off sometimes. You have to let off in training, and you have to let off sometimes in games. You have to manage yourself and have some wisdom about when to go and when not to go. So sometimes Paxton looks like that because he really is just 100% intense 100% of the time. He doesn't ever slack. And everybody else takes time off in the game and slacks a little bit from time to time. And Ryan in particular takes a lot of time off during the week. He's not at all. I mean, Ryan's a gamer, right? During the week, Ryan kind of half-asses it, and then he shows up in the game and is the man. So it's like, everyone's different. But, Ryan's not he's a great guy in practice, and he's an emotional leader, but he is not a 100% drive, 100% driven, 100% intense trainer. He's more of a casual, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be there on the game day. It's just everybody's different.
But do you understand what I'm talking about? Like, putting drive on the field and, like, actually trying to go somewhere with it?
Going at somebody. Well, you remember last year when Jesus was playing like as a 10, and we were talking about how he was at his best when he would go at those gaps and drive into the box, because no one else does it either. So, Paxton, you're right, 100%. He's the only one that really does that. Ricaurte, that's not his game. Acosta, that's not his game. You would hope that O'Brien and Vargas would do it too. Like, Vargas talked about that being his game. He hasn't been super effective at it yet, but hopefully he's a guy that can contribute some of that.
All right, well, let's talk a few minutes about Eddie Mon Joma, who I'm still pretty frustrated by. I guess we're spoiled after coming off of Reggie and Brian and some, options they've had over the last several years at that position. I still can't figure out why Eddie refuses to attack space and try to beat defenders.
Yeah, he well, listen, Eddie Mon Joma, there's a reason why he was in college for 4 years and not signed out of the academy at 15 or 18. But nonetheless, this game was an improvement. Again, we're looking for improvements. He had 20 touches in the offensive third, I think it was, on this game. Now, you're right. 0 dribbles, though. He's not going at people yet. But he did make a tiny step forward. So, again, we need to see. This is one of the 5 or 6 things that Luchi needs to get fixed for this team to be good. Right back has to get fixed. And this was a step forward, but it's still not the answer. He needs to go at people. He needs to beat people. He needs to get more crosses into the box. At least he got into the offensive third, which he never had done before. Mm-hmm. So a baby step, but you're right. Right now, he's not up for it. But we talked about this at the beginning of the season. If you were going to go with Eddie, you got to give him half of the season to play in before he's going to be anywhere like Reggie was at all. And he's never going to be like Brian, but You could get him to be like close to Reggie if you give him plenty of time, because he didn't get the time at North Texas last year. So he's having to do it now. And it's definitely a learning progress.
See, that's interesting you say that, because my perception of Mon Joma's history is that while he has played this position, he's more of a Brian Reynolds type, an attacking-minded defender, versus Reggie meaning a defender that will attack.
He is, but I'm talking about the athleticism and the upside. He's never going to have what Brian Reynolds has. He could get to the Reggie Cannon's, ability to get up and down the field. You're right. He is more of an offensive player than a defensive player, which is weird. Basically, I think, and Dan talked about this last week, I think, they've been so focused on the defense with him that the kid lost sight of the fact that the reason he got this opportunity was because of his offense. And so they're having to wake him up and remind him, hey, don't forget you're out here for the offense. And Luchi's, backhandedly mentioned they need more offense out of that position.
Yeah. I don't know, what you've seen in practice, but, it's almost like, is this coach-led or is this player-led? Because, it was the first time he reached the opponent's box. Actually, nearly created a goal for Ricaurte off a nice bit of play. But, he's an attacking guy. Maybe it's been a disservice to his game where for the last 4 years he's kind of had that weird free role where he has an entire side of the field at SMU and, not had necessarily a structured game at a fullback or wingback position, and now he's trying to having to go, right, so defend, now I need to figure out when to go.
My take is that he's playing not to make mistakes. And you guys know when you play not to make mistakes, you make mistakes. Lots of mistakes. You got to play, especially on the offensive frame. That kid needs to play free and open and take chances. If you never take any chances, all you're going to do is make mistakes and fumble it. And that's basically what we're seeing out of the guy. So I'm hoping that someone can give him the confidence and that his teammates will give him the confidence to give him a chance to try some stuff, because right now he's not even trying the stuff. I mean, zero dribbles is not what you wanted out of Eddie Mon Joma.
No, not at all. Okay, so maybe my perception of how you'd sell this to me was incorrect, Buzz. So I think what you're saying is you're not saying Dallas played good. You're just saying they played better.
Better, yeah. No, I would never tell you that they're good yet. I'm just telling you that in the context of this craptastic season, that this was better. And if you play like this the rest of the year, you'll be able to grind out some points and get mid-table. I know you hate it, but this is where we are.
That sounds exciting. All right, kick in.
It goes back to your tallest kindergartner, right? This was their best performance of the season, although that's not saying much.
Look, I always talk about context, right? This is not. It's not going to be a great team, but it's like for the last place team that sucked like 2 weeks ago, it's now not suck. Now there are now worse teams that you could do this. And you can compete in this league if you play like this.
Yeah, but look, if I'm just being a fan here, right, and I'm just being, and I'm not being realistic or fair, it's year 3 of Luchi and this whole idea of what they're trying to do post Oscar, and I don't feel like the team's made any progress whatsoever. They've sold off some talent, and they haven't brought in much new or better or interesting talent, and it just feels like we're just the club and the team's just treading water and not getting anywhere. And I know it's early in the season, and that's kind of a crummy way to look at it, but I don't know.
Well, in the off week, maybe that'll be a good pod to do, is sort of to look back over that time frame. But I would agree with you. I think the club's actually worse now than it was 3 years ago. I think it's gotten worse each year.
Thanks for that, Buzz. I appreciate it. Now you've made me feel much better.
Yeah, that's not my job to make you feel good.
That wasn't a Huntsman dump, but it was certainly a dump.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you did go to practice today, and hopefully there was some good stuff from that session.
Well, the thing that was the overwhelming thing was how few players there are available. And yeah, it was amazing. I've never seen a thinner practice in my life. So
really,
you're gonna love this list. Okay, so number 1, Schön's gone already. So
because he's hurt, or he went to Hungary.
Oh, I assume he's in Hungary. Well, as far as I know, he's not hurt. He was gone. So their camp starts like today. So I assume he left to go to Hungary. So that's fine. Philippe is out, right? You knew that. Zobac's out.
Wait a second.
Right.
Has there ever in the history of this club been an international signing that has been as just openly dismissed as that guy has?
Yeah. Well, you wait.
Yeah,
watch
Franco
it.
Jara.
Yeah.
Well,
Watch
but
him.
I mean, Franco got here and is at least put in games. This other guy came in, sped around the field, did nothing for the total of how many minutes has he put in so far this season?
Oh, man, I have to look.
30 tops?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, he's touched the ball less times than I have fingers, and I don't know. It just seems that continues to be the weirdest story on this team. I don't get it.
You watch. He's going to tear up the Euros, and they're going to sell him next window. He'll play.
Great.
That'll be it. He'll never come
Yeah.
back. All right.
Right,
So
cool.
anyway, Felipe is out. Zobek's out. No sign of Felipe at all today. Dan's got some timelines on some of these guys. Zobek's out. Nicky Hernandez is out, standing on the sideline. Jesus Ferreira out. Nikosi Tafari out. And here's my favorite one of the whole day. Did I get everybody? Yeah. Okay. Here's my favorite one of the whole day. Matt Hedges out. So I don't.
Christ.
Yeah.
Wait a second. What about, didn't Martinez leave the game early?
I'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
So no Hedges at all today. I asked, and he's apparently inside. Now, rumor has it, and this is my kind of rumor, not somebody that listening heard from their hairdresser. This is like around the chatter I'm getting is that it's something with his back, which would explain his not immobility and inflexibility when you talked about that goal and his inability to close the guy and how he got turned. So stay
Carrying
tuned.
the team for too many years.
Yeah, he's carrying the team. So stay tuned on Matt Hedges perhaps being out for a while. Not to be now. I'm not reporting anything. Don't anybody get excited. I'm just panicking about it.
Well, that would not excite me in any way, Buzz.
Yes. No. Hedges being out is not good. Okay, so here's the other two things that are sort of they're not injury related, but Martinez and Franco Jara are 100% for sure being load managed. Both of them got pulled out basically like 2/3 of the way through training. They both got pulled out of training and then went and sat on the side. Now, Jara is because he's 9,000 years old, but Martinez, I'm assuming it's because he came through a whole La Liga season before he came here, basically, or part of one, or was one. So he's been playing since last August or whatever, right? So I'm assuming.
So was the sub of him in the Salt Lake game an injury or a load management
I
sub?
think it was load management because, number one, you want to keep Rasan active and invite Gage, number one. You're going to need to rotate those guys over the course of the season. But now, particularly with Hedges hurt, they're just being careful with Martinez, I think. So no sign of injuries. He looks 100% fine to me. When he left training, they didn't ice him or stretch him. He just went over there and sat there, and talked to one of the coaches. So I didn't see any signs of injury with him. But nonetheless, they had to bring in two center backs from North Texas, Kaiser and Para. And Johnny Nelson played center back for about half a practice today. Not left back, center back, in a back four. So that's where we're at with available center backs. You're down to two center backs, period. End of story. You got Brisson and Martinez, and that's it.
Luchi's going to roll out a 3 center back lineup on Saturday.
Yeah, well, he might want to on the road, but he can't. And they did not do 3 center backs today at all. It was 100% back four. So we'll get to the lineup in a minute. But anyway, there's a whole lot of bodies missing, and I know Dan has some timeline stuff on some of these guys. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so let's just start with the one I don't think got mentioned, Jesus Ferreira. Luchi mentioned that he's training independently. He's not allowed to take contact, so he may train on Friday when they have that kind of do-nothing walkthrough. But they're probably looking about... They said he's taken longer than they first anticipated. Just where it's the shoulder, and they're worried about repeat dislocations and building the muscle up around there. So he did say, that it's going to be after the FIFA window. He may be a little bit losing his rhythm, and his fitness will be definitely down, but they want to, try and build that up before they really risk him. Which, I mean, you've got Pepe, you've got Hari, you've got O'Brien can play up there. You've got a few options. Moving on, you've got Felipe, 2 weeks for his thigh injury. Karl Zobek should be back in training in the next week. And Nikosi Tafari, they are talking about training by the end of the week. So, he could technically compete, I guess, the end of... actually, he would be cleared to compete after the window too. So watch this window.
Wow, the nursery is full.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean for Saturday in Colorado?
Well, I thought it was interesting that we were talking earlier. I said that the lineup in the last game was a 4-3-3. It's the same as it always been. It slightly got changed, and yet the club for some reason called it a 4-1-4-1. Well, it turns out that apparently that's because of Luchi. So because he actually, like in training today, he actually yelled at the whole team, not mad at them, but yelled where everybody could hear it. 4-1-4-1, which is ridiculous to me because it's the same 4-3-3 as always. So because like the idea to me in a 4-1-4-1 is that you have legit outside wide midfielders that are playing on top of the outside backs, and that's not really what FC Dallas does. But if you remember that, this is what I mean about it being a new formation when I said in my teaser thing. You remember that Luchi only thinks that tactics are like shapes are only like a starting point, right? So basically when I was trying to, after he said that, I tried to watch training and see what he was talking about. And so basically the where you really will see it was when if they compress into a low block, they'll definitely sit back in a 4-1-4-1, and Tanner sits closer to the center backs, like right in front of them. And then there's a line of four, and it leaves Hara by himself. And so I think some of this, him calling it that, and them sitting that way sometimes defensively, is because it forces Franco Jara to recognize that he's the only guy. And it makes him realize that because like if you call Oberon and Vargas wings, then he's like, oh, I got two wings, I'm going to drop in. And they don't want that. They want him to be high. So in a way, I almost think like Luchi's calling it this to trick Franco Jara into playing the way they wanted to play, which is crazy to me. But that's what I could come up with in terms of like why he's calling it that. Because you guys watched the game. Oberon and Vargas are still playing like wings, right? It's not a 4-1-4-1 like I think of with like Ronnie O'Brien sitting wide and crossing the ball in, right? It's not that.
Okay, hold on. Wait a second. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I know.
And I'm, Buzz, I love you and everything, but I think you're crazy and you're overthinking this because if in fact you were correct, that would be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in the history of soccer.
Which part? That they're doing it to trick Franco Jara?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, well, like the only way you can get your $2.9 million striker to play the number 9 correctly is to trick him into doing it.
Because he wants to false 9. So if he thinks he's in a front 3, he wants to drop in and be like almost like a 10 and come back and pick the ball up. But if he thinks he's high on an island, and it shows up that way when they sit back, then it'll make him be like, oh, I got to be the guy. I got to get up here so that these dudes can run up and play off of me, which is what they want. So, like maybe there really is, again, tactics are fluid in the modern game. So I just thought it was hysterical that he actually called it a 4-1-4-1. I was like, why would you do that? It's not like it executes like that. I mean, it does defensively, but it doesn't offensively. So it's like, okay, that's what I got. I'm going with the Franco Jara's an idiot version. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I'm sure there's a supporters group chant that could be created out of that somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was one of the national Twitter accounts, personality, writer, pundits, journalists, I can't remember which one, was asking today legitimately why Paxton's not getting more minutes.
Probably Doyle.
No, it wasn't. It was Harrison Crow, I think his name is. I don't remember. Anyway. Okay. And I, and nobody kind of responded, and I said, well, I think maybe the severity of his injury and his surgery and subsequent, what's the word?
Recovery,
That's it. Yeah, the setback that he had, maybe a little bit more severe than that guy realized. But I do begin to wonder at what point, Buzz, are we going to start to see Paxton go from 30 minutes to? I mean, I don't really know if there's ever a scenario where he comes in at halftime. I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those deals where he just continues to play 30 minutes at the end of the game, and then eventually at some point, either because they absolutely have to use him or something else, he ends up starting again.
Well, I just realized that in the previous question, I didn't actually go through the lineup, but let me do the Paxton part first, and then I'll explain the lineup. For me, I think Paxton, in terms of like his 100% form, I think it's okay that you could now start him. I don't think he's 90 minutes fit yet, but I think he could start. But here's the deal. This weekend, you're going on the road to Colorado, altitude, right? Which is going to be, that's a high stress environment. Physical team. Colorado's physical, right? So why not sit on him for 2 more weeks, sit on him this week and bring him off the bench one more time. And then you'll have 2 weeks off, and then you can target that FC Dallas game versus Minnesota, which is a home game on the 19th. So that's 3 weeks from now. And I'm sure the players will get a little break, so he'll get a little bit of a rest, and then you can hit him hard for 2 weeks of fitness to get him ready for the 19th. I think that makes perfect sense, that the 19th is when you can actually start him. Now, you're right. You don't just bring him at halftime. That doesn't work. What you do is you start him. If you think you can push him to 55, 60 minutes, then you can start him. You know you're going to have to sub him. But that's how you do it, and I think the 19th is a perfect game. So that, to me, is the answer to the question. I think he's now physically ready. It's just now going to be the fitness for the readiness, and it's not going to be this week for sure based on what I saw in training today. So if that answers the
why
Paxton
are you laughing?
part, no, just that he didn't get any rotations with the first team.
Ah, okay.
So
right.
If that answers the Paxton question, then I'll go on to the lineup, which I failed to actually do in the previous answer.
Okay,
when I was
go ahead.
4-1-4-1. So Hedges is out. There's not a lot of changes because there's nobody available. Maurer in goal. Mon Joma, Brisson right center back. Martinez, Hollingshead. Tanner again is that deep 6. Acosta, Ricaurte, double 8s. Vargas, O'Brien, and Hara. So one reason why I didn't think to go through it is it literally is the same lineup as the last game. So you'll see that same formation and that same lineup. I think Paxton will come in. They'll try and bring him again 30, 35 minutes. Use that altitude to push the fitness. And I think the 19th is when you see him start.
Okay. By the way, just real quick question: did Paxton get the credit for the assist on Ryan's goal?
I don't remember. I'd
Dan,
have to look.
do you know?
He's credited with an assist this season, so I guess
he got the assist. I'm looking at it right now. I should have just looked it up myself. Yes, he did get the assist. And he started that play too, by the way.
Yeah.
That was what was very nice about it. Okay. Anything else about Colorado coming up that we should talk about?
Buzz? I've actually got a question for Buzz.
Okay. It's question time.
What formation were they playing against in the reps?
Goodness, let me think about that.
Because Colorado has played 3 formations in 3 weeks.
A back 4, and then same sort of 4-3-3 mostly, but there was a lot of talk. Luchi kept having the outside backs change roles. Like he kept having the outside backs push higher, almost like they were wing backs, and having the wings check inside a lot. So it was almost like they were trying to defend against a team that shifts formations during the game. So it'll be interesting to see, they're probably trying to anticipate multiple versions of stuff. Yeah.
Because obviously we saw on opening day, they played that, that kind of 4-3-3, against Houston. They played a 4-4-2 of high wings, more so than wide midfielders. And interestingly, against LA last week, they played a 5-3-2, like a traditional 5-3-2. Michael Barrios as the off striker, Rubio feeding him, holding up and feeding hm the ball. Barrios, got their only goal in the 2-1 loss. So I just wondered, what they kind of anticipated Colorado doing.
Well, that probably explains why they were using sort of the shifting back line, from regular outside backs to wing backs, and they were playing most of the time. It was a double A, but they were having guys drop in. So it looks like they were anticipating, multiple things, if that tells you anything.
Nice. Where else can you get this kind of insight?
Well, I don't know. That may tell you something, Dan, because the answer is probably nowhere else. All right, so Saturday night, I think the game is at 8 o'clock Dallas time up in Colorado, and it will be on Channel 21. There you go. All right, now let's talk about a few other things, and one of which I want to talk about is kind of a bummer piece of news, because one of the things that also happened on Saturday leading up to the game was the news that we found out that a friend of ours had passed away, and we did not, I'm going to say I did not know that she was sick. Now, she died of pancreatic cancer, and that would be Denise Isla, who was somebody that we all engaged with on a week-to-week basis with this club as a member of the media. literally dating back to the original days of this club in 1996 up in the press box of the Cotton Bowl. And we found out on Saturday that she has been down in her native Peru, I guess in some sort of hospice care, and she finally passed away from pancreatic cancer. I don't know how long she's been battling it. I can't even remember the last time I saw Denise, which I probably largely attributed to COVID and not being able to go to games and the oddity of how they've been managing the press box and media access and so forth. So I was really heartbroken to hear that news, and it was really sad because she was a constant, and she always had a smile on her face. She was a really wonderful person. She did her job the way she wanted to do it. She drove the club nuts on occasion in her own special way, but it was always with the best of intentions and trying to cover the team well. So I hope, rest in peace, Denise. We will miss you.
Yeah, this is a person that is a handful of maybe 5 or 6 people that have been around this club since the very beginning that are still around. I don't mean working for the team, I just mean around it in general. Like Carlos, basically myself, you, a couple of the Inferno guys.
Steve Davis,
Denise. I mean, that's really about it, right? So this is a person that we've known, and been friends with for a long, long time. I remember my last interaction with her. It was right before the pandemic, and if you guys know her, this will make you chuckle, I think. It was at practice, and at practice, most fans may not know this. You're not supposed to shoot pictures or video for more than the first 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes of practice. Well, the first 15 minutes, they stand around kicking the ball like in a 2-foot thing, and it's worthless. And then the last 15 minutes, well, when does that happen? They don't tell you. Like the coach doesn't go 15-minute warning, so you don't know when that is. So my last interaction with her is being like up on the northern end of the field and like screening her from the media people with my body so she can stand behind me and take pictures of guys in the middle of training. So that's my last interaction with Denise, is running interference so she can take pictures. And
well, hold on. Before you tell more of that story, for the pod listener who's never met you in person, and I'm going to guess that most of them don't even know who Denise is. Denise was this tiny Peruvian woman. I mean, she was like maybe 5'2", 5'1", 5'2". She probably weighed 80 pounds. She was tiny. So you, Buzz, don't take this the wrong way. You could hide her easily.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I was blocking her whole body.
And you're a billboard compared to her.
and she and I are giggling and laughing about it. And she's literally she and her camera both are behind me, and I'm kind of turning my body a little bit to make it even bigger as I'm like watching training. And it's just I love that my last interaction with her is doing something like that and as her breaking the rules and me helping her do it. And I'm not saying go out and break the rules. I'm just saying like, it's just a perfect encapsulation of our relationship, and somebody I worked alongside for, 24 years that I've been involved in this team. And every time I go to training, it's just like every time I go to Pizza Hut Park, Toyota Stadium, I think about Bobby Ryan and they're in Texadelphia. And then Denise, every time I go to practice now, every time I think about taking pictures around the team, I'm going to be like, it's going to remind me of her.
Yeah, it's funny to talk about this because, Buzz, you and I have been around this for so long. We've been through every iteration of the front office and how they've all chosen to interact with the local media over the 26 years we've been doing this. And Denise was part of that. And we all have... I think we all generally would tend to agree that there have been different regimes of people that all had different ways of interacting and building relationships with the media, specifically those that attended games on a regular or went to practice on the regular. And as we do, we all sit around and we talk about how happy we are with them or how frustrated we are with them. Or joking about the silly rules they put in place that don't make any sense, or things that they perceive to be protections or of their guarded secrets that we all look at each other and go, you got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
And Denise was just one of those people that were fun to be a part of that little family of people that were, trying to cover the team. And man, it bums me out greatly that she's gone. And let me also say this: it comes at a cost to this club because she was one of the. First off, there's not a ton of Latina or Latin female people that cover soccer as well as she did, and two, it's not like this club can afford to lose media members who are interested in providing them coverage.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a blow in terms of building audience for this team. Man, I don't even know who, other than Carlos, I don't even know people that write Spanish articles anymore other than Denise. She was the last one.
What happened to Servania?
At
Aldea.
Yeah.
Oh, she did. Okay. Yeah, I knew I hadn't seen her in a while. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I've seen any Hispanic reporter. I mean, Carlos works for the team. I mean, other than Denise, I can't remember the last time I've seen a Spanish reporter at practice. There's a couple that do the Zoom calls. You know, most of them are TV guys. But like print wise and shooting, I don't think there was anybody left that I know of.
Yeah,
it's a loss.
They all got chased off, and I think Denise was also the only outlet out of Fort Worth as well, working for.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the one associated to the Star Telegram,
Australia.
Yeah,
which meant all of her stuff was then translated to English for the Star Telegram as well. So now they're down to.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, Denise was a hustler when it came to doing her job. I mean, she would bend the rules. She would take photos when she wasn't supposed to, and she would try to go grab interviews when she had been told not to, and things like. I mean, Denise came with her own set of frustrations for the media teams with the club, no doubt about it. But she was just trying to do her job and do the job as best she could. So I'm glad we got to take a few minutes to talk about her, and I do appreciate that the club got around to actually acknowledging her and her passing on their social media channels. So,
amen.
Rest in peace. The other stuff moving on that we should talk about is the ever-pending news of one Justin Che, yet another FC Dallas great that we'll never actually see in an FC Dallas shirt.
Yeah, here's a reason why I put this on the format, because what I wanted to talk about was not that he's getting a call-up, because that's cool. But it's the thing that's been driving me crazy this week is there's now all these soccer experts all over Twitter medias and social medias. They're talking about how great Justin Che is. And I'm like, not a one of you guys has ever seen the dude play. Right. And he's the exact same. Well, he's probably not the exact same player, but the only difference really between Justin Che a year ago, when nobody knew who he was and nobody even knew what his name was or had ever seen anything about him, and Justin Che now, who's getting a national team call, is the fact that people found out Bayern liked him. There's no difference. Like, he's only getting this call up because he went quite smartly, by the way, went into the German media and talked about how he's half German or whatever, speaks German, has a German passport, and wants to play for Germany. Oh, crap. We better get in the cap, right? Smart, totally savvy. But there's not a one of these dudes that has seen the kid play, knows how good he is. I mean, Berhalter has, of course. But all these experts, it drives me crazy. Like, there's no difference between Justin Che a year ago and Justin Che now. The kid works hard. Don't get me wrong. Byron's got a great coaching staff, I'm sure. But I guarantee you, it's just so silly that now he's like the greatest player in the world, when a year ago it's like, who's this guy starting for the North Texas?
I think those US youth, I found him first kind of types are actually more toxic than Ted and his pro-rail people.
Oh, it's close, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think as all of us being the old guys, in version 1.0 guys, I think is probably the best way to describe us. Is we've seen all this before, and you can obviously tell those people on social media who tend to put up the facade of being some sort of soccer expert or have some sort of deep knowledge of the pool of players are just people repeating things they've seen other people say, or the lemmings that all follow everybody off the cliff over somebody, right?
They've seen a highlight of one tackle and they've gone, I know his game now.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. So I get where you're coming from, Buzz. You're absolutely right. Justin Che's call up to the national team is more about a function of just circumstance and convenience than anything else. I don't mean to denigrate him in any way, but he's only you're right. He's only there because he happens to be over in Germany trialing with Bayern. Two, Chris Richards got hurt.
Yeah.
Like, if Chris Richards was healthy, Justin Che isn't getting a call up.
No. And that's the thing is, like, I guarantee you that none of these people went back and watched North Texas tape. They're not watching Byron 2. That ain't on anywhere. So it's like they're talking about how great he is. And like, dude, you guys don't have any idea. I mean, Byron likes him, but right now he's an FC Dallas player. They haven't bought him yet.
It's also not a real call-up. It's hey, you're in Germany. We're going to have a camp in Switzerland. Come and be a reserve defender for us when we have 11v11s.
Yeah, I hope nobody listens to this and thinks that we're knocking Justin.
Oh no,
Oh, far from it. But this is how things work. This is how training camps are. Same as
Yeah, Kevin Bonilla's been in U23 camps. It doesn't mean anything. But listen, let's talk about how great Justin Shea is. Don't get me wrong. The kid's a phenomenal defender. He's a terrific passer, really great on the ball. He can dribble out of the back, plays much more aggressively defensively than a lot of guys do. His weak spot is actually one-on-one defending because he was not a defender for very long before he joined North Texas. So that's the thing he's got to work on. He's got to learn the tactical defending. He's got to learn the technique of body and one-on-one versus big strikers and all that kind of stuff. Again, this is like a raw tools guy that Bayern is losing their mind over him because all the pieces are there for him to be truly great. But he's a long way from that. You guys saw him with North Texas. Well, maybe Peter didn't because you don't watch them, but Dan did. He's very raw all last season. Now, progressed the whole time. I'm sure he's progressed at Bayern. But there's no way he needs it. So he's starting for the senior national team anytime in the next year, at least, probably.
Buzz, if you had to do a comparison between him and Chris Richards, just based on pure upside, who wins out in that battle?
Well, Chris Richards is a better passer, particularly a long-range passer. He has better passing vision. Shea's probably better, not that Chris Richards is bad with the ball at his feet, but Chris Richards, Justin Shea, being a former attacking player, is probably better dribbling out of tight space, dribbling out of trouble. So they both have the new great hot multi-$100 million player in world soccer, and you know this, Peter, is the center back that can dribble and pass. Those guys are worth $100 million. So Bayern is looking at both of these guys as, could I turn them into superstar center backs that are worth obscene amounts of money? And that's their both potential. They both have pace. They both have athleticism. Chris is taller and it's better in the air, but Justin is probably a tiny bit more athletic. And they're both really good passers. Chris is better and Justin's better on the ball.
I was reading, I can't remember if it was a Twitter thread or an article today that I guess Richards is in some sort of weird limbo with Bayern and Hoffenheim that, Hoffenheim wants him back, but now he's going back to Bayern, and now Bayern may try to sell him for a bunch of money. I think they think maybe they can get 10 or 12 million for him, but that may not be enough. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that to see where that goes, because that is a pile of money that Dallas would get for whatever they sell him. I don't know you don't happen to know what the sell-on percentage was for Chris?
I think it's 40% for Chris. I'm not really sure. I thought it was interesting
Did you say 40?
40%, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's also interesting that apparently, from what I've read, that Justin Shea's buyout is more like 3 or 4 million rather than 1. And I joked that the first taste was free and the second one's going to cost you. But the Bayern having to pay a little more this time to get the kid, from Dallas. So there'll be a sell-on with. I'm sure it's already been negotiated with Justin Shea too.
Man, I can't wait to get my check for that.
Yeah. Well, you're not getting checks anymore.
Yeah, I don't.
Wait, you're a season ticket holder now?
No, I was about to say I'm not a season. I was never getting a check anyway. I was just making a joke about the fact that nobody's getting their effing checks that they promised them.
They would have only bounced anyway.
I don't care. It was the bit. I liked the bit. I thought the bit was funny, and you don't just kill the bit and not tell anybody you're killing the bit. That's the part that is so stupid.
Don't kill the bit.
What a great chance to show the new sponsor, UMB Bank, that never say chase again.
All right, and Buzz, here in the red crayon written run sheet, it says Servania return ?
Yeah, the team wrote this article like a couple of weeks ago about how his club got relegated and, he was going to come back or whatever. Well, it turns out there's this really weird, because the two teams that finished at the top of the second division, apparently they're not licensed.
Where is he playing, in Sweden?
In Austria.
Okay.
They're not licensed for the first division. So the highest licensed team in Division 2 gets to play against Brandon's club in a 2-leg playoff. So the first leg was today, and the other one's this next weekend. And so that's why he's not back, and I assume that he'll be back after that.
Wait a second. That makes no sense. So wait,
Yeah.
if the team he's playing on isn't licensed to get promoted,
his team got relegated, but the two teams that finished at the top of the Austrian division can't come up. So the highest team they can find that is licensed to come up is playing his team to see which one gets to stay. So it's the weirdest crap I've ever seen.
Well, you know what that is, Buzz? That's the future of Major League Soccer. That's the compromise promotion relegation structure they'll put in place.
Something like that. It's weird. I mean, they lost 4-0 in leg 1, so maybe they'll rebound in leg 2. But
the team they played against has the greatest name in the world: Austria Klagenfurt.
Oh, that is good.
That is outstanding. That's even better than Sportclub Nieder whatever Sankt Pölten.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the Norwegian club, or is it?
They're good.
Is it the Greenland club? Odd.
Yeah, Odd. Oh, that's Greenland. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is in Greenland. All right, Buzz. And then in your tease, now you teased for a new formation, and I guess that's the 4-1-4-1?
Yeah, that's the new formation. Yeah.
So I want to make sure we pay off the tease, Buzz, right? I mean, this is broadcasting 101 here. So we've paid off that tease.
Yeah.
The other tease is that you made some sort of big promise that you were going to tell everybody something about a surprise signing.
Well, I think there's going to be a surprise signing. I don't know anything. I'm not reporting anything. I just think there's going to be one. And it's going to be this week because the window closes, on Tuesday, Dan? Is that when or Monday? Something like that.
Sunday.
Sunday, right around the corner. I think it'll be before the weekend. They're going to sign a player. And here's why I think that's true. It's not going to be as exciting as everyone's going to hope. Sorry to burst your bubble. So you guys saw me tweet out, I assume earlier today, that Mark Salas and Gio Montedasecca showed up at training today, right? So
and who are they again?
They're the third round draft picks that Dallas made. They both played for the academy. They both played at UNC and they stayed in school and they went to the semifinal. The reason I know this, stay with me here.
Well, no, I'm suddenly getting a sense that this isn't going to be as exciting as I was hoping it was going to be. Okay,
it's not going to be nearly as exciting as you think. So, Dan, you'll appreciate this. I'm out of practice, and Mark Salas runs past me. And I said to one of the social media guys standing next to me, I was like, oh, hey, is that Mark Salas? And he's like, oh, yeah, he and Gio are back, which is when I tweeted that. I was like, great. Well, no sign of Gio. So I'm assuming Gio's out there with North Texas. And as Mark Salas is running by me, I think to myself, he's wearing FC Dallas gear. And he runs past me, and he runs over and he starts doing like some fitness kind of running over on the side. And I thought, well, that's really weird. And so then he's done with all his running, and he goes over and he stands over there and starts talking to some of the coaches. And I thought, I'm sure he's got some gear on, no big deal, whatever. I don't think anything about it. But then I'm watching training, and I'm watching Johnny Nelson play center back. I'm watching these two guys from North Texas play center back. And I'm starting to think, man, there's no defenders on this team, really. I'm watching Benny Redzek play right back. I'm watching all this crazy shit happen. And then all of a sudden, Mark Salas subs in to FC Dallas training and plays right back.
Alongside Luchi at centre back.
Well, not Luchi at center back, but you guys may not remember this or know this. Mark Salas was part of Luchi's teams that won Dallas Cup and won the developmental league. So Luchi knows Mark Salas and trusts him. That kid can play legitimately. He can play at any of the four spots across the back line and maybe even holding mid. Now, naturally, he's a right back. And right now, who's the other right back on this team other than Eddie Mon Joma? I mean, really not anybody. I mean, I watched Emma Tuamasi today. Ryan, right. Emma Tuamasi played 80% of the training in midfield, in central midfield, and looked great, by the way. That's a whole different thing. Oh, wow. All right, and then, but I was like, all of a sudden, here comes Mark Salas rotating in at right back with the first team. And that's when it hit me. The kids in the, Dan, you know this, when they show up in the FC Dallas gear, right? That's what happens with the academy kids when they sign homegrown contracts, is all of a sudden they're wearing FC Dallas gear. So it popped into my head. The window closes in like 3 or 4 days. This team's missing like 5 defenders. You need a right back. This kid can even play center back if you need him to. They got 4 open roster spots. So that's my signing. They're going to sign. That's my prediction.
Between they're a third-round draft pick.
Yeah, so they're going to sign not a third-round draft pick, a guy that Luchi knows and trusts. They're going to sign him. That's my prediction.
I wonder if he counts.
It just happens to be a third-round draft pick.
I told you not to get excited, but you know.
Well, I like the fact that you're excited about your your process of deduction for figuring this out.
That's
so
what I'm excited about.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
The signing, not so much. But you figuring out who it is and making the prediction, that's pretty exciting.
We'll see if I'm right. Yeah.
Since we're talking about signings, and this was noise that we were hearing about a couple of weeks ago, yet I've not heard anything about it recently. I mean, up until the point we were actually hearing stories about how he was refusing to play for his team in Argentina so that he could make sure he didn't get hurt before coming to Dallas. Facundo Quignon, now, is that a 6 that the team is actually going to sign? Do we know anything? Have we heard anything?
Well, I did a little quick internet snooping today, and man, is his team mad. Back down in
Lanús?
Yeah, they're pissed. His contract ends June 30th, and the MLS window opens July 7th, a week later. So, there was multiple articles today talking about how no deal is done, but, the guy's sitting out of games, and there was even a quote from, I don't remember if it was this coach or his technical director saying, like, if he's willing to do this to us, he's going to do it to you next, talking about Dallas. So,
the cheating husband accusation. Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I mean, between the fact that it was in Aldea, that's legit, number one. But then, for this level of like the technical directors and coaches talking about it and the guys refusing to play, I mean, this is obviously happening. So, he's a legit 6. They need a 6. He's 28, prime of career. This is all happening.
Have you watched his YouTube highlight video?
I have not yet. I have not. But I did read some scouts of him today, and they talk about him being really good on the ball and being a good passer and a terrific defender. So, I mean, that sounds all good to me.
But is he an asshole?
I don't know. He could be.
It's kind of funny that. I was going to say, it's kind of funny he sat out those couple of games and then he's played 90 minutes every game ever since.
Yeah. Well, they probably some of the language was about you've got to live up to your contract. I'm sure they probably threatened to withhold money or something. So maybe he's playing now.
Ziegler really should have learned something from him.
Yeah.
I want a Daniel Hernandez level jerk face on the field for this club.
Oh, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I want a guy who will punch somebody else on the field if it comes to that.
Yeah.
Will he get stuck in and win his 50s?
Yes, exactly, Dan. That's exactly what I mean. I want a guy that will get stuck in and win his 50s.
Wait, is the show over?
No, it's not. No.
Oh, wrong show.
That's wrong show. Wrong show.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift away from all things FC Dallas and move on to other action in the area as our very own John Leonard went out and covered the Chisholm Trail Derby, is it called? Classico. Okay. Yeah. Classico, which is the Denton Diablos versus Fort Worth. What did John have? We should have invited him to come on and squeak
he'd have
talk.
Been so excited. It'd have been amazing.
Oh, man, that was a bad buzz.
Give him
Why
some
did
Red
you
Bulls. Let him just
drop
run
the
around.
ball like that? The pod listeners love John Leonard.
I think you love John Leonard.
Oh, okay. I do love John Leonard.
All right, go ahead, Dan. Support local soccer.
Yeah, Chisholm Trail Classico first leg. Fort Worth Vaqueros take the lead up just 5 minutes into the second half, and then, long story short, Denton ran out 5-3 winners or 5-2 winners. 5-3.
I think there were 8 goals I read.
There were. John did a nice little recap. We have, actually, if you want to see all 8 goals in preparation for this weekend's second leg of the Chisholm Trail Classico, you can check them out on the bottom of John's recap on the blog. So, and then, they return on Saturday at the Vela Soccer Complex in Denton, 6 p.m. kickoff. So that'd get you finished just in time to watch FC Dallas do things in Commerce City.
Do things. Okay. I will say, I have enjoyed watching the guy that owns the Denton Diablos. Damon is his name, right?
Yeah, Damon Goker.
And his crazy beard, that giant beard of his, posting videos of him strutting around town with, I guess, the whoever wins this particular derby, there's a giant wrestling belt or boxing belt that the winning team gets, and he owns it at this time. And he keeps posting videos of him wearing it around town, stroking it sexually. It's very funny. I enjoyed
The one
that
of
quite
him
a
wearing
bit.
nothing but the belt was a little bit much, though.
I think I've missed that video. That must be on a different social media app than I'm on.
Oh, sorry, that was the wrong website entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I should delete that from my history. Actually,
I like his
Probably
big ZZ Top beard. It's literally bigger than he is.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
like all the ZZ Top beards combined. That
Yeah.
thing is,
It's
that
huge.
beard is insane. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, and that game, I'm sorry. So, Dan, when is the second leg of that, and where is it?
Saturday, Vela Soccer Complex in Denton, and then that will be 6 p.m. kickoff.
All right, and I'm sure you can buy tickets somewhere to go to that, or is it open to the public to go to?
I believe you just show up and pay someone like $5 or $10, whatever it is.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Okay. Is there any kit nerd stuff we need to talk about?
No, North Texas Soccer Club's playing a home game this weekend, and you guys should go check them out. They're quite good.
When is that game?
Saturday at 4:30, actually, so you can catch it in the afternoon and go do something else that night.
Stroking my chin. I don't have the show this weekend.
There you go.
You do have the Champions League final to watch.
Oh, wait. Yep. Champions League final. Sorry, Buzz. Sorry, North Texas Soccer
Hey, your
Club.
loss.
It's got a Euro snob it.
Absolutely.
You and Luchi watch the Champions League.
Holding hands.
Since we found out he's a Euro snob. Yeah.
Could you imagine a photograph of me and Luchi sitting on the sofa holding hands watching the Champions League final?
That'd be fun.
That would be very funny.
You think Gina will get you that hookup?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's easy to work with that way. Okay. Don't forget, everybody, Third Degree of the podcast is brought to you by Soccer 90. Champions, the aforementioned Champions League final is here, and there's a sale on 40% off all the select European club gear through Saturday the 29th. And, of course, because you are a very special Third Degree listener, you get 25% off all your merchandise when you use the code Third Degree at checkout at soccer90.com. And I will say, I love nothing more on the interwebs than seeing people post pictures of the stuff they buy from Soccer 90 that they got for 25% off by using the code Third Degree at checkout. I love that. So
Yeah,
please
it's awesome.
keep doing it. It is great. All right, Dan, thank you. It's good talking to you this week.
Good talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Buzz, thanks for making me feel better about that crummy tie against Salt Lake.
Oh, you're
Saturday.
welcome. And by the way, if anyone's stuck around this long to this podcast, it must mean you like it. Perhaps you can consider supporting us. Patreon.com/Third Degree.
Yeah, give Buzz money. All right. Thank you, good listeners to the pod. We will speak to you next week on another edition of Third Degree, the podcast.
Go do something.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.